We were sprawled on the sofa, half watching some trashy dating show when I decided to call it a night. I leaned in to kiss Chloe goodnight the same way I had every evening for the last 2 years. "I love you," I said, like always. She didn't say it back. Instead, her face went still, almost solemn. She grabbed the remote, killed the volume, and turned to me to M's stomach tightened. This wasn't about tomorrow's takeout order. She locked eyes with me and said, "Mark, I like you, I really do. But I'm not in love with you anymore." The sentence floated there, sharp and precise. It wasn't a breakup. It was a reclassification. She had just unilaterally rewritten the terms of our relationship, and assumed I'd quietly accept the new contract. I'm a systems analyst by trade. I spend 40 hours a week untangling messy processes and turning them into clean, predictable logic. Emotional gray areas aren't my thing. So I simply logged the new data point. Likes me, not in love. Got it. After a second, I nodded. Okay. Thanks for being clear. That was all. No shouting, no pleading. No. But why? Just calm acknowledgement. I stood up and walked to the bedroom. I could feel her staring at the back of my head, waiting for the explosion that never came. She had braced for drama, for begging for me, scrambling to earn back a title she'd quietly stripped away. She got nothing. Just serene, immediate compliance. Lying in bed, my phone buzzed on the nightstand. It was the shared tablet in the living room, still logged into the group chat she'd once added me to by accident. I didn't need to check. I knew exactly what was happening. She slipped into the bedroom a few minutes later, thinking I was asleep. The glow of her screen lit her face as she typed furiously, harvesting praise from her friends, about how courageous and evolved she was for speaking her truth instead of ending things. They were high-fiving her for inventing a genius new arrangement. All the perks of a devoted living boyfriend. None of the obligation to love him back. She thought she just renegotiated a sweetheart deal. She had no clue she'd triggered the self-destruct sequence. She had downgraded me from partner to housemate. Fine. I could be the most ruthlessly logical, emotionally neutral housemate she'd ever met. She wrote the new rules. I was simply going to enforce them to the letter. It's been 1 week since Chloe's bold declaration to her. It probably looks like I'm processing. In reality, I've rolled out what I now call the housemate operating system. A lot of you told me to just evict her. Too noisy, too dramatic. I prefer quiet, methodical deconstruction. It's cleaner, and far more devastating. Day 1 started the moment I woke up. Normally, I'd roll over, kiss her awake, whisper good morning. Not anymore that I got up, brewed exactly 1 mug of coffee, poured the rest into my travel thermos, and left the empty carafe on the counter. The guy who made her coffee every morning was in love with her. That guy no longer exists. The housemate who happens to share a kitchen doesn't owe anyone caffeine that I showered, dressed, and left with a breezy, have a good one thrown over my shoulder. No kiss, no affection. Just the same polite neutrality I'd give a coworker I barely know. The first couple of days, she seemed almost giddy. The pressure was off. She had freedom, and still kept the apartment, the stability, the lifestyle. She thought she'd won. Then the small withdrawals started hitting her account. Friday afternoon she texted, "Hey babe, the girls want to try that new Italian spot tonight. Can you grab us a table for 8? You're the best at reservations." Old me would have had it booked in 30 seconds. New May replied, "Busy tonight, sorry. You'll have to call them yourself. They fill up fast." Her response, I left her on read. I was at the gym, a new evening habit made possible by all the free time I suddenly had. The weekend is when the system really kicked in. I did laundry, only mine. I went to the grocery store and bought exactly what I needed for the week. Rye eyes, salmon, meal prep containers, protein powder, no sign of her favorite yogurt, her overpriced oat milk, or the gluten-free crackers she inhaled. But I stocked my shelves in the fridge and pantry. Labeled everything in my head as mine. She walked in while I was portioning chicken. "You went shopping? Yep. You didn't get any of my stuff?" It wasn't a question. It was borderline accusation. Sorry, I said with the mild detachment of someone who just took the last coffee pot. I only grabbed what was on my list. Happy to Venmo you for half the toilet paper and cleaning stuff. Just let me know the total. Her jaw actually dropped. In 2 years I had never once split a grocery bill. But the man who paid for everything was in love with her. The housemate splits expenses 50/50ths. Sunday sealed it. Her car had been making a strange rattling noise for days. She dropped multiple hints that I needed to take care of it. She appeared in the doorway of my home office. My car is doing that thing again. You really should check it before I have to pay some shop to rip me off. I spun my chair around. That sounds annoying. Definitely smart to get a couple of quotes first. There are some highly rated mechanics on Yelp not far from here. Then I turned back to my monitor. She stood there for a solid minute, speechless, waiting for the old version of me to materialize. He didn't. The guy who would spend his Sunday afternoon diagnosing her engine was in love with her. The housemaid had spreadsheets to finish. I'm not acting like I'm acting. Literally. She told me she likes me, so I'm treating her the way I treat people I like. Polite, helpful in an abstract sense, but under no obligation to invest time, money, or emotional labor. She unilaterally declared our emotional currency worthless. I simply updated the household budget to reflect the new exchange rate. 0. She's starting to understand just how much of her comfortable life was subsidized by a man who was in love with her, and how little is left when that subsidy disappears. The apartment has gone eerily quiet. She keeps trying to bait me into some kind of reaction. Any reaction, she gets nothing but friendly, impenetrable calm. She thought she removed love from the equation. She's slowly realizing she may have accidentally removed everything else too. Update 2. It's been a full month since Chloe bravely redefined our relationship. 30 days of the housemaid operating system running at 100% efficiency. And the cracks on her side have become structural failures. What she believed was a clever power play has become a slow-motion train wreck she can't escape. The cheerful neutrality she first welcomed now feels like psychological warfare because it is consistent, unshakable, and completely devoid of the emotional openings she's desperate to exploit. Her birthday was the first real stress test that in previous years I would have orchestrated something elaborate surprise. Dinner, weekend getaway, thoughtful gift she'd brag about for weeks this year. I woke up, saw she was awake, and said, "Happy birthday, Chloe. Hope it's a good one." Then I got out of bed and started my routine she lay there waiting for. The rest of the script that never came, the flowers, the hint about evening plans, the envelope with plane tickets, nothing. She finally wandered into the kitchen while I blended my protein shake. "So, any plans for my birthday?" she asked, trying to sound light. "Me? Just work and gym?" I said, rinsing the blender. "Did you have something lined up with friends or family? I'm down to order pizza and chill tonight if you want, like a normal hangout." Didn't want to assume. I delivered the word hangout with perfect casual friendliness. Romantic birthdays are for people in love. People you just like get a low-key pizza offer at best. She spent the evening on the couch scrolling in silence while I answered emails beside her. Her friends flooded her Instagram with queen emojis. Yet somehow none of them actually took her out. The financial reality has hit even harder. Turns out the boyfriend experience quietly covered a shocking amount. Dinners out, vacations, her phone bill, car insurance, the list is long. Her phone got cut off last week. She came to me in full panic. I just shrugged. "Yeah, I removed my card from the family plan since we're not really family anymore. You'll have to set up your own account with the carrier." She went white. She has no steady job, just sporadic freelance design gigs that barely fund her online shopping. She has been living on love, or more accurately, on the invisible subsidies that come with it. Now those subsidies are gone, and her half of the rent and utilities is suddenly very real. She has tried every tactic, leaving messes for me to clean. I stack them neatly on her side of the bedroom, blasting sad playlists. I wear noise-canceling headphones, coming home tipsy and attempting seduction in one of my old t-shirts. Last night was peak escalation. She climbed into bed crying, wearing almost nothing, and whispered, "I miss you. I miss us." I closed my book, looked at her with the mild concern you'd show a coworker having a bad day, and said, "Sounds like you're going through a lot right now. Have you thought about talking to a therapist? They're great for processing big emotional shifts." I delivered it with perfect clinical kindness that I took her raw drunken plea for intimacy and responded with a mental health resource. The tears stopped instantly. She stared at me like she was seeing a stranger, because she finally was. She isn't dealing with a wounded ex lashing out. She's dealing with a system that is functioning exactly as she programmed it. The panic is visible now. The silence is deafening. Total system failure is imminent. Final update. It ended last night, not with fireworks but with a quiet, crushing implosion. The last 2 weeks have been pure desperation for her. The apartment turned from home into a sterile, impeccably clean, holding cell where her polite, smiling roommate refuses to give her anything to fight against. She tried tears, rage, seduction, guilt, everything. I remained an unmovable gray rock. The final trigger, as I knew it would be, was the lease. Our current lease expires end of next month. The renewal notice arrived a few days ago. I left it on the counter in plain sight. Last night, I came home from the gym to find her sitting at the kitchen table, staring at the paperwork like it was a death sentence. "We need to talk about the lease," she said, voice small. "Sure," I said, dropping my bag. "What's up? Are we renewing?" "I'm not," I answered calmly. Her face went ashen. "What do you mean you're not?" "I already signed a new lease, 1 bedroom, 10 minutes from the office. I move in on the 1st. The realization crashed over her like a wave. This wasn't just emotional distance anymore. This was physical eviction from the life she thought she'd get to keep. "You're leaving me?" she whispered, as if the phrase sounded ridiculous even to her. "Leaving you?" I repeated, tilting my head like I was genuinely confused. "No, Chloe. Our cohabitation agreement is simply expiring. Roommates don't usually follow each other to new apartments when one decides to move. I found a place that works better for me. I assumed you'd do the same. That's when the dam broke." She exploded. Tears, accusations, screams that I was cruel, that I was punishing her, that she'd made a mistake, that she loved me now, that she wanted everything back, that I waited for the storm to pass, then spoke calm and clear. "You never said you loved me. Actually, you said you missed me, but that's irrelevant. You were extremely clear that you are not in love with me. I heard you. I believed you. I adjusted accordingly. I want things to go back," she sobbed. "Of course you do," I said, letting just a hint of steel into my voice for the first time. "You want the guy who cooked for you, planned your birthdays, paid your bills, fixed your car, and built his life around making you happy. You want all of that, but you want it for free without giving him the one thing he needed in return to feel loved back. You wanted a devoted partner with no reciprocation required. That's not a relationship, Chloe. That's a subscription service, and I just canceled mine." I let that land. Then for the finishing touch, I walked to the counter where a small velvet box had been sitting all day. Delivered while she was out, her eyes lit up with frantic last-second hope. Even now she thought this might be the movie moment. The ring, the speech, the proof I'd been in love the whole time that I opened the box. Inside was a single gleaming house key on a plain ring. "This is for my new place," I said, holding it up. "The view is incredible." The light in her eyes died completely. She had bet everything on the idea that my love was an infinite unconditional resource she could dial up or down at will. She just discovered it had one very simple condition: reciprocity. She didn't speak again. She sank into the chair and stared at the lease renewal that was now 100% her responsibility. And I left her there and went to my office. The apartment isn't silent anymore. It's empty, and I have 30 days left as her housemate. Then I walk out the door into a life that runs exactly the way I want it. And she will never be part of it again. She got precisely what she asked for. A man who is not in love with her. She just never imagined that man would be me moving on without her.